Titian's Cupid with the Wheel of Time is a painting from the early 16th century that is unique among works by Titian. The painting is executed entirely in monochrome and with a much more fluid technique, in which the rapid handling of the brush is conspicuously evident. The painting may have originally functioned as the cover, or timpano, to a portrait. Such complements to portraits were not uncommon in Venetian painting in the decades around 1500. The painting's allegorical subject supports this possibility. It may have been meant to represent the personality, status, or philosophy of the sitter of the portrait beneath. Based on the main symbolic elements, Cupid, the wheel, and the animal skull, scholars have suggested various potential interpretations for the image. One possible interpretation is that Cupid symbolizes love, which holds a central position in human life and lends sweetness to the fleeting hours, even though the roll of time must in the end lead to death. The wheel represents fate or fortune, which cannot be controlled by human will. The animal skull hanging from a tree trunk suggests mortality and decay, as well as a contrast between life and death. Another possible interpretation is that Cupid represents art or creativity, which can inspire and delight people but also face challenges and obstacles from external forces. The wheel represents change or progress, which can bring both opportunities and dangers for artists. The animal skull hanging from a tree trunk suggests mortality and decay, as well as a reminder of artistic mortality. A third possible interpretation is that Cupid represents beauty or grace, which can charm and enchant people but also be fleeting and fragile. The wheel represents time or history, which can test and judge beauty according to different standards and tastes. The animal skull hanging from a tree trunk suggests mortality and decay, as well as a contrast between beauty and ugliness. Titian was a famous Italian Renaissance painter who belonged to the Venetian school. He was born in Pieve di Cadore, near Belluno, around 1488 or 1490. He started his artistic career as an apprentice in Venice, where he learned from the Bellini brothers. He soon became a successful and influential painter, who worked for various patrons, including the Habsburgs and the papacy. He painted many portraits, religious scenes, mythological stories, and landscapes with remarkable skill and color. Some of his other famous works are The Assumption of the Virgin, 1538 to 1541, a large painting that depicts the Virgin Mary being lifted up to heaven by angels. It is one of the most celebrated examples of Titian's use of light and atmosphere. Bacchus and Ariadne, 1510 to 1511, a painting that shows the god of wine surrounded by his followers in a garden. It is one of Titian's earliest works that demonstrates his mastery of perspective and composition. Venus of Urbino, 1538 to 1540, a painting that portrays the goddess of love in a sensual pose with two lovers in her lap. It is one of Titian's most famous works that reveals his interest in eroticism and realism. David with the Head of Goliath, 1523 to 1525, a painting that illustrates the biblical story of David slaying Goliath with a sling. It is one of Titian's most powerful works that expresses his admiration for classical art and culture. The Rape of Europa, 1520, a painting that depicts the abduction of Europa by Zeus in the form of a bull. It is one of Titian's most dramatic works that shows his skill in creating movement and emotion with figures and animals.